General Rapp, General Grange, Colonel Collins, members of the Army War College class of 2016, ladies and gentlemen. I know we have some German officers here, and I know we have many American officers who have served in Germany. You'll know then that the Germans love to give speeches, listen to speeches, and analyze speeches far more than is the case in the United States. In fact, in Germany, the word for a toast at a dinner is eine Tischrede, a table speech. Well, the good news, especially for those people sitting on the aisle where I used to sit here in Bliss Hall, is that Colonel Collins made very clear that I was not to give a German speech today, but rather 5 minutes of remarks, since I'm the last person standing between this ceremony and all of us having a little bit of lunch. I'd like to thank the Army War College Foundation for the honor of this award. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Colonel Earl Matthews of the class of 2016 for nominating me. I'd also like to thank my parents for starting me and my 6 brothers and sisters on lifetimes of service to this great nation. My mother was a uniformed member of the American Red Cross during World War II. She met in Berlin someone who was a then captain in the 78th Division. That was the division that had fought in the Battle of the Bulge. It was the division that crossed the bridge at Remagen. That was my mom and dad, who got married in Berlin in 1947. The 7 children that they had each served our country either in uniform, in civilian service, or both. My father, after a 26-year military career, became Secretary of the Senate for 15 years. I'm very proud that my brother Jay is here today. Like me, Jay spent about a decade on active duty. He then went on to a career in the U.S. Senate, I in the executive branch. We both stayed in and retired in the Army Reserves. It's a particular honor to be selected the same year as Generals Grange, Johnson, and Galvin. Jack Galvin was both a friend, a colleague, and a mentor to me and to many of my peers in the year groups 67 through about 70. And in 1988, when I was sitting in Bliss Hall for the first time in one of the two-week resident programs that we had in the corresponding course, Jack Galvin was already Supreme Allied Commander, Europe. Again, this was 1988. In fact, General Burns, who was here, was then the head of the Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, and we were quite convinced that the Cold War was going to go forever, that Berlin would remain divided forever, that Germany would remain divided forever. 1 year later, when we came back in 1989, things were beginning to change dramatically. The barbed wire had been clipped between Austria and Hungary. We saw tumult in Beijing at Tiananmen Square. Later that fall, we shared the joy of the Germans as the wall fell. Then we had the Panama operation. Early the next year, Nelson Mandela was freed, and apartheid began to fall in South Africa. And then the Gulf War came less than a year after I graduated from the War College. That period for me demonstrated the importance of the strategic perspective that is taught and developed at the Army War College, as a number of the honorees have spoken, as did the film. You have all demonstrated the ability to deliver in depth. That's what got you into this hall. What starts now is your preparation to develop a broader perspective, that breadth of strategic perspective that is going to guide what you do the rest of your military careers and the careers that follow. For my generation, that breadth of perspective focused on effective joint action. 1988. That was less than 2 years after Goldwater-Nichols had passed. You're going to graduate next year on the 30th anniversary of Goldwater-Nichols. You've all served in an environment where jointness is assumed. But when I take a look at the environment in which you've served, and particularly this constant warfare that we've been in since 2001, and given the events in Paris on Friday night, an ops tempo that I'm afraid is going to continue, we still need you to deliver in depth, particularly when you lead those brave young men and women who are today's soldiers. But in your studies here and your assignments to follow, make sure that you also continue to develop that strategic perspective that is going to be so important for your contribution to our country, both in uniform and beyond. And I think, as was said in the film, two elements of success will be people who, even as they continue to deliver in depth their service capabilities, who also are effective members of the joint team, we also have to be successful players in the interagency processes, the whole of government, and also in multinational and international settings. That's really the next level of jointness, interagency and international success. And that's why I think it's so important that you get a chance to think deeply, discuss those topics, because that's the world that you're going into. One where you have to operate at the intersection of that T, breadth of perspective, depth of contribution. I would also say that for the effective national security professional of the future, you're going to have to be as versed in economic and financial affairs as you are in diplomatic and military affairs. Because national security, as we look at it today, is the combination of our foreign, defense, and international economic policies, all resting on a strong intelligence base. There's no longer any issue that is solved only at the State Department, only at the Defense Department, only at the Treasury Department. So again, that whole of government concept in what is going to be an increasingly complex international setting is the world into which you are graduating and the world in which we're going to rely on you to continue to perform with that breadth as well as the depth that you've demonstrated. So good luck in your studies. Thanks for your past and future service. And thanks again to the Foundation for the honor of this award.
Well, class of 2016, we've gotten a taste of some of those who have gone before you. The accomplishments, both in uniform and out of uniform, are awe-inspiring of these four great leaders. You're part of that legacy. I urge you to use this year to the greatest advantage you can, because big things will be asked of you in coming years, as it was of these four great leaders. So thank you for being here today. My sincere thanks and congratulations to our outstanding alums and to all who came and supported them. Class, as you depart, the Army birthday cake comes in the shape of chocolate pieces with our emblem on it. Please take one as you leave. And let's give our graduates and outstanding alums a final round of applause. Thank you. Class, you're dismissed.
If the honorees and their friends would please remain for photos, we would appreciate that. Yeah, if you could scoot that over. Yeah, if you don't mind scooting that over, that'd be great.